Hello and welcome to the Insights from a Headhunter LinkedIn Live. Today we have a special guest with us, Felipe Cofiño. Felipe Cofiño is a recruiter and a VP of Human Resources and Organizational Development at Signal Financial FCU. Felipe is based in the DC area in the US, and Felipe has over 25 years of experience in HR, recruitment, and leadership. Today, we will be talking about how to attract recruiters' attention. Thank you very much for being here today, Felipe. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure, Tina, and thank you for inviting me. It's just, I've gotten the pleasure to get to know you over this past year, and to be on LinkedIn Live with you now, I think it's well overdue, and I'm excited to have it, a chance for us to talk about such a great topic.
And welcome everyone who is watching us live or on replay. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments and we will take them up during our conversation. So let's get started.
All right.
So, how should you reach out to a recruiter?
Well, I think there's a lot of different strategies of how to do it, and obviously, recruiters, vary on their styles and approach. But I think that one of the most common things to do is try to get their attention, and there's different ways of doing that. Obviously, you can apply, but you got to understand that recruiters sometimes have hundreds, if not thousands, of applications that they're going through. If you want to stand out in that sea of applications, you got to do something. And one thing that most recruiters nowadays do is when they find an application that of any interest, even just initial interest, most are going to pull up your LinkedIn profile, and most are going to check you out and see how you look and compare. And I think that's where the power of LinkedIn really can help you stand out, because one, if your LinkedIn profile is not up to date, or maybe you don't have one, okay, it's not a mark against you, but it doesn't validate what I'm seeing yet. I was looking for some validation. But if your LinkedIn profile is up to date, that's going to capture my attention first. And especially the top half of your profile. I always say, it's like looking at a book in a bookstore, which nowadays you don't have. So it's like looking at a book on Amazon. And so you see the cover of the book. It has a beautiful picture, looks great, it's attractive, the title is catchy. Okay, that might capture your attention. Doesn't mean the book's good, but it captures your attention, and you might open it up and start reading it. That's like your LinkedIn profile. That top third section of your profile, if it's not complete, I'm going to question, well, is the rest of your profile complete? It's like if the book is kind of blah on the cover, I'm going to question, is the content blah? So it's so important to make sure that your first part of that profile stands out, because that's going to cause me as a recruiter to scroll down and start learning more about you. And that's where you're really the powerful magic is. If you're trying to stand out with what you're putting out as content or what you're engaging with, that's the magic. I'll give you an example. If you are somebody who's trying to get into marketing or digital marketing, well, if I go to your LinkedIn profile page, I'm going to expect to see content of yours. I'm going to expect to see you putting out some content that shows some of your skills. Now, if you're working as an accountant, no disrespect to accountants, I'm going to expect to see a profile that's complete, but I don't necessarily expect an accountant to be putting out content. If you do, there's a wow factor, but it's not what I would expect from that role. But I do expect to see your experience in there, and I expect to see all the information up to date so that you really do stand out, and I can learn more about you. And when I learn more about you, that just gets me a little bit closer to calling you in for an interview or calling you to talk.
Yeah, it's really one size doesn't fit all. It's the same thing with the resumes. If you get a marketeer's resume, it really should showcase already your skills. And if you get a resume from a lawyer, it doesn't have to be the same format. So it really should be corresponding what's common in your industry and stand out in a positive way. So not to be somebody else that you are not in the real life.
And that's a great point about the resume that you bring up, because I know, Tiina, I know you, I know Stella, Annette, we've all talked about resumes, making sure that they're ATS compatible. Applicant tracking system, sorry, ATS is an applicant tracking system that most companies use to have all their applicants apply through, and that's how we manage the applicants that come through. Having a resume that is going to work and be legible and accepted by the applicant tracking system is important. But I always tell people, if you are somebody who has some skills that you want to showcase on your resume or CV, then upload your resume in addition to the one that you used as their format, because that resume or CV might have some things that stand out and show your skills, like a digital marketer, that you wouldn't see on a typical resume. So I always think that, use that ATS compliant format that they provide you. But if they get you a second option to upload your own resume that's personalized, go ahead. That one doesn't matter if it's ATS compatible as much. That's more something that they're going to go and download it extra to see. And I think that's something that you have a chance to showcase some of your skills on that CV or resume.
Yes, and that comes also to the format of the resumes. If it's not written, which format, if you're working with a recruiter or sending out a CV to somebody in the company, maybe if they are not a recruiter, ask which format, because normally PDF format looks much better than a Word format, where all the information can go in different directions, and it will just look a bit not like you intended to.
That's a great tip, I think, for people. Whenever you have a resume, if you do it on Word, you always have the ability to save as a PDF, and the PDF saves it just as it looks. You're absolutely right, Tiina. That's a wonderful tip.
Yes. So I have a question about if you're looking for a promotion, internal promotion, and especially if it's overseas, how should you go about it?
That's an excellent question. I think a lot of people, I think, struggle sometimes when there's an internal promotion, how to proceed. I've worked for Hyatt Hotels for 23 years, and we did a lot of internal promotions overseas to different countries, different continents, because we were worldwide. And that's something that I think, whether you're worldwide or domestic, internal promotions, one of the first things you want to do is talk to human resources or talk to your trusted advisor or mentor. Seek out what tips or advice they have for you on what you can do to progress your career and stand out for the next opportunity. That's the first thing. The second thing is, if you have opportunities to stand out, take them. If you have an opportunity to join a leadership class that they're offering, sign up for it. If they're looking for volunteers on projects that you have skills that would benefit you, jump on that. Those things are going to help you stand out, because at the end of the day, I don't know about all companies, but from all the companies I've worked with, if we have an opening, I will have an internal candidate apply. They will go through the same interview process as an external candidate. And it's for two reasons. One is because I want them to have practice interviewing. It's always good to keep their skills up to speed. But also, that manager they're interviewing, yeah, they may have worked in the same company for a while. They may know each other, they may not. Here's a chance for that manager to learn more about that internal candidate, is in that interview process. And I'll interview them myself as well internally, just to see if there's anything different from the first time I interviewed them that they've learned that they can add value. But then finally, I would say this: as you have opportunities, if you have a corporate office, if your company is large enough or you're international, you probably have a corporate office. Reach out to them as well, especially in the HR department or recruiting area, to find out if there's anything, requirements that are needed for the job that you might need to start doing. There might be some certifications you need. There might be some classes you can take. A lot of companies offer tuition reimbursement. We have up to $5,000 a year for tuition reimbursement. If you want to take a class that's going to help you get to that next level, reach out to your company, see if they have that benefit. That's going to help you show that you're taking it seriously. You're going to stand out because you're learning new skills, and people are going to realize, wow, he really has a drive and a desire to get into this role. Let's talk to that person. And I think those are just some of the few things you can do, because obviously, if you do have a company that's international, the visa issue shouldn't be an issue. They should be able to help you with the H-1B visas, or if it's a J-1 visa or student visa, whatever. That should be something the company should handle. But sometimes be aware that especially if you're joining the company, you might have to pay a portion of that visa yourself. So there are a lot of factors with that, but hopefully if you're doing it internally, they'll handle it for you.
Yes, and I think it's such an important thing that you said. So if you're looking, for example, for a new job, that should be one of the questions. What are the growth opportunities? What are the trainings that you offer? So this is how you can keep learning and show that you are somebody who is grabbing all the opportunities. And if you are willing to invest in yourself, then the company is willing to invest in you as well. So you
Yeah.
have to take the first step. And this is a really, really good tip.
Well,
So, mhm.
go ahead, please go ahead.
No, no, go.
No, I was just gonna say that I think people sometimes they need that mentor or that coach to help them, give them that encouragement. And I
Yeah.
think sometimes they're afraid to ask those questions. Don't be afraid. The only way you get the answer is if you ask. So find that trusted advisor and seek them out for advice in your company.
Yes, and I, as a headhunter, I work with an assignment, and I always get the internal candidates as VIP, the top priorities to interview to compare with the external candidates, but they always will get to an interview, no matter the level of seniority or the location. If there is a motivation, if you're ambitious, look for those opportunities, but be sure that you're going strategically, that you're not applying to everything, because that will give another alert to the recruiters.
That's a great point. I actually have somebody who applied to 5 different jobs. The 5 jobs were not similar at all. It spanned from accounting to IT to customer service to business analyst, and it was one of those things where, like, clearly this person is not sure what they want to do. They're just applying blindly. That does not make you stand out. Now, again, if there are 2 jobs that are very similar and you want to apply for both, that's fine. I've interviewed somebody and talked about both
Yeah.
opportunities with them, and that's okay. But you brought up another point, Tiina, I think is really important to mention is, uh, something to stand out for whether you're a headhunter or recruiter, is getting our attention and making sure that once you have that opportunity to get someone that reaches out to you, you may not be ready right now to move, and that's okay. But don't close that door. If a recruiter or hunter reached out to you, open that door to start that relationship in case in the future you might need that opportunity, or you might be able to help out a friend, refer them to the recruiter or the headhunter. Because I'll tell you right now, for me, I'm a unique person. People call me a freak because I love recruitment. I truly love finding people jobs in the right company and the right culture. It takes a lot of time and effort to go out there and try to find those passive job seekers that maybe aren't actively applying. And that's something that, I spend a lot of my time doing, and something that when I find someone, it's a rush. That's something that takes a lot of time out of a recruiter's day. Most don't have time. That's when they hire somebody like Tiina to help them do that, because Tiina is an expert at that and does it so well all day long. And you need someone that has that attention and that drive to do that, because if not, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of effort and time. So it's worth that investment in hiring somebody if you don't have somebody that can do that for you. And I caution, for those that think that you can do it yourself, it's a lot of work. So be prepared for it, because you still got to do the rest of your job. But I do think that when a recruiter reaches out to you or a headhunter reaches out to you, don't burn that bridge by not responding. Stay in their network and keep it alive.
And always have those 5 minutes to have this conversation, because if you have referred somebody to me who gets hired, I will remember your name and I will put you on top of the list if I have something that's suitable for you in the future. So what is a better way to stand out and get the recruiters attention than that?
Exactly. It's just classic networking success. If you build a relationship, maintain it, you don't know what doors it may open up in the future.
So I will go to we have comments here, and let me just take out some questions if we have here. Um, we have, we have Annette here joining us from New York. Hi, Annette. You were on her live as well just
Voice
last
go,
month.
yeah.
Yes. And we have Stella da Silva. Hello, peeps.
Stella, how are you?
Great to see you, Stella. We were just mentioning you. We have Varsha here. Good evening.
Wow. Got lots of it. Great.
Hello to India. And we have Johannes. Hello, everyone. We also have Nirmal joining us from India.
Oh, welcome from India. That's great.
And also Adam, dear Adam from New York. Hello.
Hello,
We have
Adam.
Kari Laukkanen from Finland. Yeah, results and accomplishments speak for themselves. That's instead of a buzzword, you use what you have done.
Great point.
Annette has a question. How about someone in sales with very few connections?
Well, that's a great question because, first thing I would look at is how long had they been on LinkedIn? Okay. If they just joined in January this year, okay, I'm going to be very forgiving of that, obviously. Probably a little late to the game in jumping on board, but there's so much opportunity for business development and sales. And there's so much opportunity for you. I mean, look, as recruiters, we're selling the companies, we're selling the jobs, we are selling. So I would expect to see someone that with sales to be on there and at least be engaging, promoting what your company is selling. If you don't want to put out content, I wouldn't expect you to be a content creator per se, but I expect you to be promoting and selling your products on LinkedIn and sharing why people should buy from you if you're a salesperson. And I think that's something that is important for you to showcase the value that you bring. And I think on your profile, you can do that in your about section. If people have recommendations for you, that speaks a lot of volumes. And again, what you engage with and what you do share, it speaks to you. But overall, I definitely would expect to see some promotional ways of promoting your company and selling yourself as well as your products and services.
I think that's a really good point because when I'm working with commercial profiles, people in sales, one of the first questions will be about their network. Who do you know? Where do you have open doors before? Where do you have warm network connections? And if you don't have, if you have very few connections on LinkedIn, that's already an indication because as a salesperson, you need to be out there and networking with other people.
Yeah, it's definitely a red flag. And I think that, if anyone that has low connections, one of the things that, and Tiina, you know this, we've shared this in our LinkedIn rooms before, is that when you have below 500 connections, you have a lot of that low hanging fruit. And when I say low hanging fruit, it's the people that you already know, your family, your colleagues in past jobs, your schoolmates, people that you're associated with through associations. Those are opportunities for you to connect with those people that you already know that are on LinkedIn to increase that. And for someone just starting off on LinkedIn, that's the first thing you should do, because when you hit that 500 threshold, that's just kind of a nice place to be at, because when you look at it, it just shows that you have been active, that you have been networking. And if you're a salesperson with low connections, that tells me you're not networking either. So
Yeah.
great question on that.
Thanks, Annette. We have another one from Adam. Um, uh, he directed it to Stella as well. If one CV does not fit all the jobs that I might be applying for, how does one curate their LinkedIn profile to be as specific but generic as well?
That's a great question, because I think that's, we can get very customized with our CVs and resumes, but your LinkedIn profile is what it is. And I think that, obviously, what is your primary goal? What your primary job that you're trying to really highlight, should stand out first and foremost. Everything else should come secondary, because I think you don't have the ability to have multiple profiles, and you wouldn't want to have multiple profiles on LinkedIn. That would be very hard to manage. But I think that when you have those other skills that you have, even if they're not related, it's part of how you got to where you are. It's part of the history, and how you gain some of the skills is based on your past experiences. So even if it's not directly related, it's good for them to see it. And then in your about section, that's your opportunity to explain the connection. That's your opportunity to share your story and say, hey, this is where I started my journey, my career, and then I did a little career pivot here and went after my passion. And now currently today I'm doing this using some of the skills I've learned from my previous job. That's just a nice story to show how it all ties together. So I think that it's valuable to showcase that. Obviously, if you are applying for different roles completely in different industries, that's going to be a lot more challenging. That's where I don't want to recommend that you change your profile every single time you apply for a job, because it's horrendously difficult to do. So hopefully you have enough focus, and you know that you want to stay in one industry and one type of job, even though there might be one or two different roles under that area. I think your profile should just highlight that specific area you want to achieve.
Yeah, and I think it's very important also to remember the tool on LinkedIn, LinkedIn Recruiter, so everyone can fill in their profile open to work. That's only visible to recruiters and headhunters who use the specific LinkedIn version. So you fill in, and this information, it's not shared with the rest of the network, and you can fill in specifically what you're looking for, the position, and communicate, and that will show up in the database on top of all the other people who have not filled in those preferences. So this is not visible to the rest of your network, only to recruiters to communicate directly with them.
And that's really important, I think, for people to know, because I think that people are scared to turn that on because they're afraid their employers will see that. And that's the thing, the employers wouldn't see that, wouldn't be visible. They don't even know when a recruiter's looking at you, like you said. So that is a great feature to turn on if you're actively looking. So I definitely think it's a great thing, because a lot of recruiters use that recruiter feature, and it is a great thing. It's a search engine on steroids, and
It is.
and it's behind a curtain, so you can't see us. So, but it is something that, that search engine is powerful for recruiters, but it's also powerful for you job seekers. Use that to find us. Use that to find the recruiters in the companies that you want to work for, or the hiring managers, or headhunters that are helping people fill those kind of jobs. That search engine is so powerful on LinkedIn, and it provides you the opportunity to really connect with those individuals that have the ability to open doors for you. Now, I will say, if you find people, don't connect with them blindly. Do your due diligence and research them. Make sure that they're active. Make sure that they've engaged or commented on something in the last few weeks. Because if they haven't been on there for a year and a half, you're probably not going to get a connection response, and they're probably not going to engage with you. And they're not the right person in that company to connect with on LinkedIn. There might be another way to connect with them, but make sure that they're active. And if they're active, that's where you start that journey of engagement, and then start commenting on their post and stand out and send that personalized invitation to connect. Because those personalized invitations, I'll tell you right now, I will always go to those first, and I'll always read those first, because all the other invitations to connect, it's almost like someone walking by you in the street and waving hello. Okay, I'll wave hello back. I don't know your name. I don't know who you are, and I have no idea what you do or how to get in contact with you again. But it was nice to see you wave in the street. You want to stand out more than that. You want to stop and have a conversation. And when you do that personalized invite, that gives you that opportunity to invoke a response from that person and start building that relationship.
Yeah, that's a really good point. And now with the war on talent, what would be your tips for recruiters?
That's a great question. I think for anyone that's doing a recruiting job, we all know it's tough. And especially today, right now with the labor market, it's even more challenging than ever. I think we all have to remember, if anyone's been in recruitment for more than 10 plus years, you know that the labor market goes up and down. It's like the stock market, you know, and sometimes it's an employee market, sometimes it's an employer market. Um, we can't, first of all, we have to be agile and be flexible, and we have to recognize that sometimes we have to be more attractive and really help find the right talent, but be open to developing the talent internally or developing it, you know, from scratch. And that means giving someone an opportunity that you see potential in. But as recruiters, we also have to make sure that we are also being professional and that we are standing true to our values. And that examples of that would be being responsive and getting back to every candidate. I'm a firm believer. I don't care if it's even a rejection. I'm going to let them know one way or the other what the response is. I think recruiters need to be a little more, they need to get themselves a little more uncomfortable as far as looking for people. Do things outside your comfort zone. Go after those passive job seekers. Go after them on LinkedIn, Indeed, whatever it is. And it's, you know, don't just wait for them to apply. The days of waiting for them to apply are not here anymore. You are competing with other recruiters. And if they're out there trying to do that, they're ahead of the game. But if you have not tried to build relationships, the same advice we just gave job seekers applies exactly the same to recruiters. Engage with job seekers when you try to reach out to them, follow them, and when you invite them, personalize that invite. Don't start off with a sales pitch. Don't start off with, I have a job opportunity for you. Try to build that relationship with, get that connection. And then once you do, then let them know, hey, I have a great opportunity. And what I always do is I always make sure that it's very, very non-obtrusive. I always want them to feel comfortable. So I always say, listen, if you would like to, I'd love to have a comfortable conversation with you, just casually, to talk more about the company and opportunities, to see if maybe there's some interest now or in the future, or maybe you know somebody that you might recommend. That very relaxed approach has gotten me so many informational interviews that have led to hires. You know, my CFO currently, as well as my VP of IT. My VP of IT, I took him to Starbucks after we connected on LinkedIn, after he was open to discussing. I said, would you be open to having a chat at Starbucks? He said, sure. We went to the Starbucks, we chatted. After that, I got him to actually apply, come into the building. He actually interviewed, and he's been with us for 5 years, and we are so lucky to have him. And same with the CFO. So it's amazing opportunities that you open doors. But again, let that door stay open for a while sometimes, because you might not be something that you need right now today, but you might need it tomorrow. So recruiters have to really recognize that you have an opportunity to almost build your own database, if you will, of potential clients, but you have to really put the work and effort into it. And it is a lot of work and effort. I mean, Tiina, you know better than anybody.
Yes, and you really have to like people. So the tip with the coffee, I think it's such a great tip, because not many people do that. So just the investment of $5 or $10, it will pay out in the long term, for building up a long term relationship with somebody in your industry who is standing out, because people, they want to work with people who also want to work with them. So it's so important to show your interest, because then they feel welcome, and you plant a seed.
And you know what? I think another thing that typically recruiters don't think about, and this is something that I personally have always been of the philosophy that when we talk about branding, you know, the company branding, marketing does a lot of marketing branding, but there's employment branding. And employment branding is something that if you have a marketing department that does that for you and does it well, great. That's awesome. But not everyone has that benefit. And I think that as recruiters, you have to look at, if there's no employment branding being done for your company, start looking at that opportunity. Why do people want to come work for you? If they can't see into a window into your company and have any idea, you're missing out. You know, I will highlight my employees, our culture, and what we do on LinkedIn, on YouTube. You know, I want people to see and have a window into our culture. When I'm interviewing somebody, every interview I do, once I start talking about some of the stuff that we've done, once I've learned about them and interviewed them, and say, well, let me tell you a little bit about the company. And if you want a visual about the things I'm going to share, I invite you to check out our YouTube page. I say, check out Single Careers, and you would see a visual about what I'm talking about, so that they know that I'm not just blowing smoke. I'm actually, what I'm saying, I can validate it with the videos, and you can see that, yeah, we do stay engaged with our employees and have signal game nights and event nights, and we do cooking demonstrations. We
Yes.
also have innovative things that we're doing because we're growing. So it shows that companies growing and be innovative. And it shows that you have opportunity for growth when you celebrate promotions. This is an opportunity for recruiters to share that. People won't know that if you don't promote that by your company. So I think that, in my opinion, recruiters have an obligation to do some branding and really brand their company as to why people want to work there. And that's a huge opportunity for recruiters to really help get more job seekers notice them and their company.
Yes, and I think it's often people think it's about the logo and images, but it's, for me, one thing that speaks the loudest is if you look at the people who work in the company, they come and they stay and they have careers. Just have a look at the hiring manager's profile, where they started. They had international positions, moving from one country to another. This is what speaks the loudest. It's not just empty words. This is really what shows that this company is reliable and can offer you the same opportunities if you want to grab them.
Exactly. And I think that's when, when you showcase that, whether it's the benefits, the culture, whatever, you get more candidates. And for job seekers out there, do your research, do your homework, go on Glassdoor, go on Indeed, look at reviews, go, if they are on social media, check out their social media. That is where you're really going to see if they are showcasing their employees, if they're really highlighting some of the culture there. And don't check out only the social media that you're on, because it might not be their preference. Check out LinkedIn, check out Instagram, check out TikTok, check out Facebook, check out YouTube. See where they are at, because you never know what platform they might be on. Their content might be better on the one platform than it is on the other.
So before we close for today, there are two questions. Let me see, from Stella, where is the open to work on your profile? So if you go on your phone, it's one of the first ones that comes up. So you can choose that you can be open for mentoring positions if you're not looking for other positions at the moment, but at least you have filled it in. And as soon as you have filled in open to work, this will be signaled to recruiters as this person is more likely to respond. So you will come on top of all the other profiles on LinkedIn. So you can turn it on your profile. There was another question. How to get a job overseas with experience in my home country? From Gustav.
That's definitely a challenging, especially nowadays, right now with everything going on. I think it's more challenging than normal. First and foremost, do your homework about the company. Make sure that they are hiring people with visas, and find out if there's any information about them sponsoring. Right now, a lot of companies aren't sponsoring. So if you find one that is sponsoring, that's a huge door open for you. So I'd say first look at that, and then really look at the ones that are internationally, worldwide, companies that are established, not ones that are just starting to expand internationally, but the ones that have been around for a while, and talk to them and reach out to them and see if they have any programs. I know in my last company, we had a program for 18-month program where we brought people overseas, and they would on J1 visas, and we would do it on an 18-month rotation. And in many cases, I'd say that every 3 that came over, we usually would hire one on a H-1B visa, and in many cases, they would become a permanent resident and stay. So that would be the ideal way of how it would work. Again, in today's world, there are fewer companies that are offering that. I'm hoping that as things get better, you'll start seeing more of that come back. But I think that's where I would start. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, and my experience last year, we couldn't find two positions to be filled in Europe, and both came from outside Europe, from Asia and from Africa. So if we don't find the talent locally, so it's really about your skills. If you have the skills in your home country, and if you work for international company, it doesn't matter in which country you're working. So
And I think you're right.
I really, yeah, there are no borders. I reach out to people everywhere globally. So that is never the issue. The key is to have the keywords on your profile so that you can be found. And I will reach out to you to see if you would be interested to talk about it.
And I think the keywords are crucial there. I think because when you're looking at people and you're searching for those keywords, if you have the skills that I'm looking for and I'm not finding the talent in here locally, I am going to start looking at outside and internationally, because that's something that if I can't find it locally, then I'm going to start going outside the other circles. And if you have those skills, like Tiina said, and make sure that you highlight those skills in your headline, in your about section, and in the skills section. Those are the three most highly searchable areas which the link with the LinkedIn search engine that it's really going to pull from. So if you're not showcasing those keywords or skills in those three areas, again, the headline, the about section, and the skills section, you're missing out on people finding you. So to Tiina's point, other countries, opportunities overseas, that's going to help you.
Yes. So I want to thank everyone who joined us live today and who will see us in the replays. It's been a pleasure to talk to you, and I hope we can do it again in the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tiina. It's been a pleasure, and I definitely look forward to some in the future. So thank you so much for having me today.
Bye-bye.